Okay. Okay. This is the start of session 47. Um, as is now who's speaking? He's speaking with Labish Mayer, who is really a very good man, and uh, he approaches our hero, our Yaakov, in a very kindly and beautiful way. Is this then Dor Kevel? He's asking Yaakov. There's a grave. De Gever Kadisha light haben alt opgewischt. The people of the burial society wiped everything out. Ihr sollt nicht meinen, Reb Yankov, als ihr hat nicht gehabt kein Zad. Don't think, uh, Yankov, that you didn't have any supporters. Hat der Yid gebeten dem Ton. The Jew, that is Labish Meir, changes his tone. Ich bin gewesen Motze Yom Kippur beim Rav Gershon's Edom auf der Asifa. He's referring back to what happened 20 years ago. I was at the meeting after Yom Kippur at the home of Gershom's son-in-law. I was at that meeting. Ich bin Taka gewesen, nicht mehr wie Astolia. I wasn't I wasn't more than a carpenter. Aber mir hat mich gerufen zu Asifas. I wasn't more than a carpenter, but they included me in the meetings. Ich hab gehad a Haus, Parnassa. I had a house and I had livelihood. Ich kann reingucken in de kleine Osius euch. I can I have knowledge of the small print. In other words, I'm somewhat learned also. Ich bin gestanden beim den Tier und gehört alles, was ihr hat gezählt. I was standing by the door and I heard everything that you said. Jedes Wort, every word. Ich hab gewollt a Geschrei tun. I wanted to scream out. Jiden, seid nicht kein Rotzchim. Jews, don't be murderers. Is schon genug gestraft. He, referring to Yaakov when he was talking that night at the meeting, he has been punished enough. Aber Gershon, was soll es ihm von Keverois? Gershon, may he be thrown out of his grave, a kind of curse. Hat mir gewissen a Fäust. He showed me a fist to keep quiet. Der Rav hat den gekonnt Pasakin. Do you think the rabbi, that is to say his son-in-law, could really decide, given the atmosphere that there was at the meeting? The emissarav is Gevain Gershon. In other words, the person who was really in charge of this whole thing was Gershon. It wasn't the son-in-law. He wasn't deciding. Das hat allein eich gemerzt zu die Galochim. He was the one who ratted on you, who reported you, denounced you to the priests. Ich will es Ede sagen beim Beis Din shel Mala. I am going to make this declaration when I get to heaven, when I'm in the heavenly court. Wenn Gershon hat sich mit der Poltag später, der wusst, als ihr seid gekommen und zugenommen das Kind, hat dem Moshe Joslin gesildet mit dem Blotter zugleich. When Gershon learned a few days later that you had come to the house of the man, this is the man whose wife was nursing the child, Um, he cursed out that man with bloody sugleich. I don't know what sugleich is. With curses, bloody words, with bloody,
Mit der Blotte like mud.
like
Blotte mud.
mud. Well, that's
And
mud, but what is sugleich?
this, as if he was dirt.
Oh, is it
He
treated him
resembled mud. Yeah,
resembled mud, as if you resembled mud with
yeah. He
Is
cursed him as
Zugleich
if he
possibly
was.
something like um, Schadenfreude? He was, with great
I don't think
delight,
it was
or
Schadenfreude.
Fred.
It's just
oh,
It was,
he really
tr-
cursed him.
he really cursed him. He
Yeah.
gave him a real cursing. Das
Well,
Kind
you can't
lebt.
curse worse than the blotter. I mean, your
The
blotter.
the the mud. He
Yeah.
treated the mud. He treated him like he was mud. Das Kind lebt, huh? The child is living. Yes. I mean, he shows interest the in this stranger who has appeared after 20 years, and for the child. Is schon a Tate von drei Kinder. He's already a father of three children. Vu in Yerushalayim. I thought earlier in the story he actually said he lived in Sfat, but anyway, in Yerushalayim. Wie soll sind ihr etwas weg mit der Pitzelkind kein Jerusalem? How did you manage to go off with a small child to Jerusalem as a Sach zu der Zellen? Yankov says it's a lot to tell about this. This was a long story and not simple. Mir hat mich gewollt reinnehmen in der Kevra Kadisha, aber ich hab nicht gewollt sein kein Stivelputzer bei Gershenen. They wanted to make me a member of the burial society, but I was not willing to become a bootlicker for Gershon. Mir hat es met afilu recht nicht mit Tahel gewesen. They didn't even do the proper rituals for the dead body, that is to say, for Sarah Wanda. Mir hat ausgegraben a Grub und sie reingeworfen, wie lahavdil a gepegeter Beheme. They dug out a hole and they throw her in like in it shouldn't be compared a dead animal. Ich bin gewesen dabei. I was there and saw this. Ich bin gestanden dabei. I stood there. Der Shamish hat gewollt sagen Kaddish. The Shamus wanted to say Kaddish. No, Gershon hat nicht gelost, but Gershon did not permit it. Noch früher haben sie ausgeleidigt bei euch die Stube. Earlier, they went and they emptied out your house. Mir hat all zugenommen, afilu dem bezim. They took everything, even the broom. Mir hat gerät in Stadt, als ihr hat gehad behalten Geld und mir hat das zugegangen. They said in the village that you had money and that you had hidden money, and they took that as well. Nu, ich hab sie schon lang moichel gewesen. This is Yankov talking. I forgave them a long time ago. Ihr konnt moichel sein, aber Gott ist nicht moichel. You, Yankov, you can forgive them, but God isn't going to forgive them. In Himmel is alles verschrieben, jedes Pitzel. In heaven, everything is recorded, every little thing. Es ist nicht weg, kein Jahr. Und den Gershon hat sich gelegt in Bett rein. It didn't even take 1 year. With less than 1 year later, Gershon took to his bed. Mir hat sei wie gehabt, hat sei wie gehabt, a großen Bauch. He had, in any case, he had a very big belly. In general, we've met him before. He was described as a man with a very large belly. Nur hat sich angeblasen wie a Fass. But even though earlier he had a big belly, now he blew up like a barrel. Und mir hat ihm nicht gekonnt zudecken mit der Überdeck. And they couldn't even cover him with a blanket. His belly was so blown up and bloated. Mir hat getan hat getan jeder Schluchherz. He did, every time he did a hiccup, hat men gehört auf jener Seite. You heard it on the other side of the town. He had some gastrointestinal disorder and discomfort. Ayovaib, die Sarah, ruhen soll sie in Gan Eden. Your wife, Sarah, may she have a blessing, may she have peace in Gan Eden. Hat nicht gekonnt einliegen in Kevel. She could not lie in the grave. Ich darf es euch öfter nicht, Rega, nicht erzählen. Maybe I shouldn't tell you this. Aber man darf wissen dem Emes. But, you have to know the truth. Sie ist gekommen, Weibel zu Cholem, ungeteinet. Ich lieb Knekht. Maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but this is going to be hard for you, but you have to know the truth. She would appear to women in a dream, and she would declare, or she would claim, or she would
Plain.
say, not explain. She would argue. She would point out that I am naked. I'm lying there naked. Mir hat sie gesehen euch. She was seen. Sie hat sich herumgedreht, dem Stub, wo sie ist gestorben, und keiner hat sich nicht gewollt reinziehen. She would go around. She would appear in the house where she had died, and nobody was willing to enter into that house. Ich bin allein dort rein. I myself went into that house. Es ist schon weg der Summel der noch, aber in wenig ist gestanden a Kält wie in Shevet. It was already in the summer. It was the summer, but there was in the house a cold, like in the month of Shvat, which is Tu B'Shvat, is a February. It's a winter holiday, a winter. So he's saying the house was as cold as though it was February, even though it was in the summer. Es hat geblasen von jeden Winkel. There was wind blowing from every from every corner of this house. Mir hat gespielt besteiberlich, als sie ist da und klopft auf ihr Mazel. It was felt, it was perceived apparently that she was that she was there and that she was crying about her fate. Zum Sof hat sich reingezogen a goy. In the end, a Gentile bought the house, entered into the house. Das Haus ist mehr nicht du, hat Yankov gesagt. The house is no longer there, Yankov said. No, the house is not there. Es hat abgebrannt. The house burnt down. Now we're into the last part of the story. Vartog hat Yaakov sich übergeweckt. Before the day, Yaakov woke up. Is aufgekommen mit der Schwerkeit in Hals, mit den Eingepeuschtkeit in Geweit. He woke up with a heaviness in his heart and with a swelling in his intestines. Die Hand und Fiss seien gelegen unmächtig auf dem Bintelstreu. His hands and feet were lying without power. They were powerless on this bundle of straw. Was ist das mit mir? What? And he's talking to himself. What's with me? What's happening to me? Ich werde krank oder was? I'm becoming sick. What's happening to me? Die Zunge ist ihm gewesen vergleicht. Der Kopf hat geschwellt wie a Stein. His tongue was heavy and his head was heavy like a stone. Es hat getroffen in die Joren, als Yankov hat sich nicht gespielt mit Allemin. Aber es ist keinmal nicht gewesen, also wie jetzt. Now, that word gespielt, which appeared earlier here, perceived, I don't quite know how it works here. It happened in the earlier years that Yaakov didn't he didn't interact with everyone, or he was
No,
what is it?
He didn't feel well. Gespielt, he didn't feel mit allem altogether.
Like with he didn't feel well with himself and with the world.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
It's an old expression. What we heard in South Africa was not spieren, but fühlen mit allem was not to feel well. But spieren is just a Germanization of fühlen. I mean, they're both German words anyway.
So he didn't feel like I'm not feeling with people. I'm not feeling myself. I'm not feeling with myself.
I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you. But it had never been like this. Ich bin doch erst Nächten gewesen frisch und gesund. Yesterday, after all, I was fine. I was fresh and healthy. Hat Jakob sich gewundert. He thought to himself, yesterday I was fine. What's happened to me by today? Hat sich gewollt aufgesetzen, aber hat nicht gehabt, kein Koyach in the Lenden. He wanted to get himself up, to sit up, but he had no strength in his limbs, in his Lenden, in his hips, He had no strength. He was helpless. Is gelegen, verchiduscht und geguckt durch ein Fenster, wie die Sonne geht auf in Mizrach, a rote keilich. He laid shocked or surprised and looked at through the window where the sun was coming In the east, where it rises, a red globe, a red ball. Gewöhnlich hat ihm der Sonnenspatz angefüllt mit Hoffärtigkeit. In generally, something I could improve. Generally, when he saw the first rays of the sun, he would feel hopefulness. That was his reaction to that. Is nicht gewesen kein Frischkeit in der Sonnenaufgang. But now there was no the sun did not exhilarate him. It did not give him any feeling of hopefulness. Seien die Scheiben azoi verfleckt? Is it because the window panes are so smudged and dirty? Hat Jacob getracht? In other words, like my windows, they're so dirty, and that's why I'm not feeling so exhilarated when I look through the window. Oder seinen mir die Augen verlaufen? Or is it that my eyes have left me, are not working properly? Hat sich a bissel untergehäuben und gehabt a Blick um sich. He managed to lift himself a little bit and gave a glance to what was around him. Auf den Deal hat sich gewalgelt Mist, Schmattes. Remember, he's in the Hegdish. On the floor was strewn garbage and dirty rags. Auf Bank, auf ausgebettelt von Streu, seinen gelegen alte, kranke, gelähmte, mit verkrimmte Ponemer, vergläsete Augen. Oh, what a scene. On the benches, of, I guess, the beds of straw, laid old, sick, lame people with twisted faces and glazed eyes. Wenn es hat geschnorcht, wer es hat geschnorcht und wer es hat gehorkelt, wer es hat gepfeift mit der Nose und wer es hat gepreppelt von Schlaf. Such pure Bashevis. There were those who were snoring. There were those who were wheezing. There were those who were, kind of whistling through their nose. And there were those who babbled in their sleep. This was the scene that he saw in the Hegdish. Yaakov hat Zurich zugeschlossen die Vias. He closed his eyes. Shall I read? Is nicht geschlafen, aber hat gesehen Sachen. He didn't sleep, but he saw Sarah. Ihr Gestalt ist gestanden neben ihm, eingehüllt in Licht. Her figure was standing close to him, luminous, radiant in light. Seinen Gefallen von ihr lichtiger Gewänder. She was clothed with luminous clothing. This was a figure of light and beauty. Sie hat gehad wie übergenommen die Freude von Sonn. It was as though she had taken over the joy of the sun. The rising of the sun. Sie hat geschmeichelt zu ihm wie a mama. She smiled to him like a mother, wie a vibe, und mit a Liebschaft, was is ihm gewein nahe. She smiled to him like a mother, like a wife, and with a love that was new. I don't know why it was new after all. It was a love story after all. Sie hat so getan. Mazel tov, Yaakov. Wir seinen genug gewein, scheit. So she said to him, Mazal tov, Yaakov. We have long enough been separated. I think
Had geöffnet die Viers und gewusst dem Emmes. He opened his eyelids and knew the truth. Sein Zeit is gekommen, his time had come. Nu, als Oigor, so what? Hat gemurmelt zu sich. He murmured to himself, gekommen sterben, I came here to die. Nicht beschert gewesen, ich soll liegen in Eretz Hakdosha. It wasn't destined for me to lie in the Holy Land. In Flug is was gewesen a harbor gazar. At first glance, this was a difficult decision from the Almighty, presumably. Had dort gehad, dem Sohn. There he had his son, die Einiglich, his grandchildren, Benjamin Eliezer, but afilu nicht wissen zu sagen Kaddish. His son Benjamin Eliezer won't even know that he should be saying Kaddish for his father. Aber Jakob hat sich gewarnt, nicht Mitzrayim zu sein, auf der Ribono Shel Olam. But Yaakov had armed himself. I'm not sure what Mitraim is. Anyone know what Mitraim is?
Protest.
Sorry?
To protest.
That he shouldn't
protest.
Against Ribono Shel Olam, God. Oiber mi will azoi in Himmel, if this is what heaven wants, darf azoi sein. It has to be like this. Okay, I'll leave out the Hebrew for those who know better, although I believe this may be Aramaic. Alles was Gott tut ist zum Guten. All that God does is for the best. Jakob hat geworfen einen Blick auf den Sack, wo es ist gelegen sein, Talents und Villen. Jakob looked at the bag that contained his prayer shawl and his tefillin, die Porsche vor ihm, was hat mit sich geführt, and the few books that he carried with himself, a Siddur, a Chumash, a Mishnayos. So these were the books, a prayer book, a Bible, and I assume a Mishnah. Wie will ich da mögen sagen, a Yiddish word? How will I be able to say a Jewish word here in this dirt? What sich gefragt? He asked himself. Hat gewollt mit Palel sein. He wanted to pray, aber die Lippen haben sich ihm nicht geneigt zu kein Fehler, but his lips were not geneigt.
Permit.
Sorry?
Permit.
I did not commit to...
Not permit.
Permit.
Permit. Did not permit for prayer. Hat sich angetan a Koch und genommen murmeln a Kapitel Tehillim. So he strengthened himself and started to murmur a chapter of Psalms. Ois meiden dich rauszusagen dem shame, avoiding pronouncing the name of God because he was in a dirty place. And that was his prayer, which anyone who has the Hebrews welcome to explain it. Ach lo pagayif de ish, I don't know, lo yitain lelokim apro. Yaakov, how about translating that sentence?
Yeah, it's a quote from one of the Psalms.
Yeah. Anyway, so okay. Wordt eingedrimmeld in zich aufgehabt. He fell into a little dream and then he woke up again. Wieder geworden, entschlafen und von nahe aufgekommen. Again, he fell asleep and renewed came to again. Die Hektischkeit haben sich genommen wecken. The poorhouse people started to wake up. Der Ried was neben sein Bankbett is der Ried was neben sein Bankbett is Jakob gelegen, hat gehabt a koitik von him, a koitik aboard. The Jew who was next to Jacob's, who was next to the bench on which Jacob was lying, had a dirty face and a dirty beard. It was Ponymus gewesen full mit tiefer Kneichen. The face was full of deep creases. Hat gekonnt alle sein 60 und hat gekonnt alt sein, 60 und 80. He could have been 60 or he could have been 80. Hat abgestellt ein paar keutige Fies auf dem Deal und genommen wecken Jakoven. He put a pair of dirty feet onto the floor and started to wake up Jacob. Rabbi Yaakov talked train in Penchev. Yaakov, it's becoming daytime in Penchev. Yaakov hat geöffnet die Augen. Yaakov opened his eyes. Wilt over Kriyas Shema sein, hat sich heimmischlich gebezert. You want to, I think, over, you want to not say Kriyas Shema, Shema Israel. The Jew became angry. Hab nicht kein Neckelwasser. I don't have any water. Neckelwasser is what you wash, dip your fingers when you wake up before you say prayers. Nail water. Wie kann man haben Neckelwasser? How can you have this ablution water here? Geh zum Tun und wasch die Hand. Go to the barrel and wash your hands. For mir, ich bin nicht gesund. I'm afraid I'm not healthy, or Jacob has getan. Jacob said, ihr hat taka agela mare. You really have a yellow appearance. And they did what was gestreckte Hand. The Jew stretched out a hand, ungetappt Jacob beim Stern, and tapped Jacob's forehead. Hat verzeugen die Bremen Borsten. He drew in together his brows, noch getracht, and he thought, hat so getan, and he said, nothing there. Ich will gehen rufen dem Räufer. I'll go and call the doctor. Nein, seid euch nicht, Patriarch. No, don't go to that trouble. Bikur cholim is a mitzvah. Visiting the sick is a mitzvah. Der Riede rein in a kapota. The Jew put on his coat, a porshich, a pair of shoes, and a weg, and he was off. So haben sich genommen, wecken Weiber, Kinder, children and women started to wake up. Mohot gegenitzt, yawned, people yawned, gehust, puffed, genießt, and sneezed. Ein Bettlerin hat schon seitens Emerson gescholten mit teuter Trolles. One beggar woman had already, by this time, cursed someone with deadly curses. Alle haben sich geläust. They all deloused themselves. Jacob durch der
What was
verlegte
they all what themselves?
deloused, took off the lice. They're full of lice.
Oh, loused? As in light?
Yeah.
Light, okay.
A lois is a lie, a loss. That's how they deloused themselves or deliced themselves, however you
Yeah,
prefer. Jakob
yeah.
wird durch der verlegter Nose von Snyder spürt das Gestank. Jakob, even through his blocked nose, again felt the smell, the strong smell. Auf dem Deal auf die Wand seinen herumgekrochen wären. Worms were creeping on the walls and on the floor. Rabbins haben wievielmal gefordert, als das halten in hektisch Mannsleid und Weiber in Einstube ist eine Affäre. Rabbis had so many times warned that keeping in the poorhouse men and women in one room, in one house, is a sin. Aber der Minhag is geblieben in Arzachstedt. But this custom remained in many towns. So hat geheißen, als zu Kranke und Alter hat Getzerara nicht kein Schlitter. The interpretation was that for the old and the sickly, the evil inclination doesn't take over, doesn't rule them. Man hat da etwas wie vergessen unter jüdischer News. They had forgotten about the Jewish modesty somewhat here. Ein schwarzer Jüdener hat aufgedeckt die Bristen, was haben nachgehangen, die zwei ledige Säckler. Oh, a dark woman revealed, undecked her breasts that hung down like two empty sacks. Jakob hat in der Gicht zugemacht die Augen. Jakob quickly closed his eyes. Hat allemal gewollt sterben in a heiliger Kurve. He always wanted to die in a holy ruin kurve. Any better. I take it from Charot, but anyway, I've taught him from Tzadikim, at the graves of the righteous, zwischen Rushim, among those who withdraw like recluses, Mekubalim, the mystics, Groben werden auf dem Har Hasitim, get buried at the Mount Olives. Hat sich ausgemalt in dem Jahr, als renkt darüber Sarahs Beinen hin. He had imagined, painted in his imagination that he will bring Sarah's bones there. Stellt bei Zeiten Samatzebe für ihr und für sich, that he would in good time put up a tombstone for both for himself and for Sarah and for her. Noch der Tura zog Binyamin Eliezer Kaddish, and after his burial, Binyamin Eliezer would say Kaddish for him. Aber in Himmel hat man upon him gewollt anders, but apparently in heaven they had wanted otherwise. Jacob is sündig. He, Jacob, is sinful. Wie kommt zu liegen in der heiligen Erde? How can he come to lie in holy ground? Es ist not gut, was hat gehabt, Zeichel mitzunehmen mit sich, a Torbala Eretz Israel Erd. It was good that he had enough sense to bring with himself a little sack of ground from Eretz Israel. Is gelegen verstummt. He lay mute. Halbnackte Kinder seien gekrochen über ihm. Half-naked children crept over him. Jeder hat gemruchet. a woman grunted, Efter is zu groß, trok von der Schwarzjör anai. Oh, Efter is zu geräum. Okay. Perhaps it's too spacious. Okay, she's talking about the poorhouse. Efter is zu geräum. Trok in der Schwarzjör anai begegnisch. So perhaps it is too spacious, so the devil brings someone new, someone, a new visitor. So hat gedauert eine Weile, bis Jakob hat sich gehabt, als he meint him. It took Jacob a little while before he realized that she meant him, that he was taking up too much space. Hat sich gewollt vor ihr verantworten. He wanted to justify himself to her, aber nicht hat gehabt, Koch zu reden, but he neither had the strength to talk, nicht hat gehabt die Wörter, nor did he have the words. Jakob hat sich zugehört zum eigenen Ruf. He was listening to his own body. Wie also ist das etwas geworden, also ich? How was it possible that it happened so quickly? Hat sich gelegt, Kibber, und ist aufgestanden, Shechiv Mara. He went to bed strong and has woken up, what's Shchiv? Schwerkrankheit, okay?
Yeah.
With a heavy sickness. All sorts wegetan, everything hurt. Alles in him is gewinn schwer. Everything in him was heavy, überdrissig, troublesome, ungeblasen, blown up, ungedrungen, also blown up. What we aufgehört zu wollen, the stomach had stopped grinding. Die Gedärme seien gelegen in Bauch wie Fremde. The intestines were lying in the stomach like strangers. Die Zähne in Maul seien geworden loose and schlabberdig. The teeth in the mouth became loose and weak. Gewöhnlich hat in der Früh gedarft Maschtin sein. Usually he had to urinate in the morning. Tron sein bedarf nicht. Do his bowels, aber Heinz hat das euch nicht gebraucht. But he wasn't able to do that today. Jakob hat gesehen durch ein Spelteläug, wie die Weiber und die Kinder essen. Jakob saw through a slit of his eyes how the women and children are eating, aber so hat ihm ausgewiesen wild, but it appeared wild to him. Hat sich von deswegen gestarkt und hat sich aufgehoben von gelegen. But nevertheless, he strengthened himself and got up from his bed and hat gewaschen die Hand beim Tun. He washed his hands at the barrel. Danach ist mit unsicherer Tritt raus und draußen sich zu reinigen über Eider, sagt Jiddisch word. And after that, he went with uncertain steps outside to cleaning himself before he would say a holy word. Hat sich weggestellt beim Kleid, Maschtin sein. He stood at the fence to urinate over seinen gerunen Blois einzige Tropens, but only a few drops ran out. Der Tag hat sich gestellt, heißer. The day was becoming hot. Die Sonne hat schon zeitens gebrannt. The sun was already burning. Fahren hektisch zwischen Mist und Unreinkeit hat gesprotzt groß und zu seinen gewachsen blimmelig. In front of this poor house, between the dirt, between the dirt and the uncleanliness, there were growing, blossoming grass and flowers were growing. Weiße Gelle mit featherlach, white ones, yellow ones with feathers, mit bonselach with whiskers. So hom rumke flutter zoomer fegalach. Butterflies were fluttering around. Goldene Fliegen haben herumgeringelt, Häufen Fliegenbobkes. Golden flies were surrounding a heap of um, of goat droppings. Opgehalten Phrygische Asefa, and they were keeping a gathering of flies, an important gathering of flies. When ergens hat ongehoben Lommer, when ergens hat ongehunken Lommerhund, from somewhere a lame dog limped along, ein Fuß aufgehoben, one foot lifted, der Kopf herabgelost, with the head down. Hat geschmeckt zu der Erde, he sniffed the ground. Da ist ungelaufen a Wintel, und die Felder und da a Gestank von städtischen Beta-Kisei. Here, a wind blew from the field, and here a smell arose from the city toilet house. Feathern seien geflogen in der Luft. Feathers flew in the air, wie in a Schechthuis, like in a slaughterhouse. Henner haben gekräht, fowls crowed, Hinner haben gequacket, Henner and Hinner, cocks crowed, and hens quacked, gens haben gegoddert, and the geese gobbled. Etwa weit groß und Umkreuz seinen gelegen, die Kischelach von ein Wolf und ein Crow hat sich mit sie gespielt. On a patch of grass and weeds, the bodies of the kishka, the intestines of a bird were lying, and a crow was playing with it. Geproevet zij wegscheppen, trying to drag them away. Jacob is gestanden, Jacob stood, gegapt, and he gaped. Das ist die Welt, this is the world. The fun was bald weggehen. From this he soon has to go. Hat sich umgekehrt in Hektisch, turned around in the poorhouse, geproefd aufheben die Torbe, and he tried to lift up his sack. Hat doch nicht gekonnt bleiben. He could not remain here. Die Idene is gerecht. The woman is right. It is genug eng on him. It's narrow enough without him. Ein Sach is kommen in Hegdisch, helfen die Kapzonim und Krippeln und gar etwas anders, these zunehmen their Ort. It's one thing to come into the poorhouse and help the poor and the cripples, but it's altogether something different to take up their place. And
Okay. Erst Knechten is die Torbe gewinn for im Gring via Federal. Only yesterday, the bag felt as light as a feather. Jetzt hat sie kaum gekonnt aufheben, and now he could hardly lift it up. Hat sich gerangelt mit ihr wie mit a Massa. He struggled with it, with the sack, as if it was a heavy load. Hat sie von deswegen rübergeworfen über dem Achsel. Nevertheless, he threw it over his shoulder. Hat so getan zu allen, and he said to everyone, a guten Tag, seid Michael. Good day, excuse me. Finster is mir. Der Mensch ist krank. So finster is mir difficult to find an English equivalent for that. It's unfortunately, or
Woe is
this,
me.
woe is me. Yeah,
Yeah.
this person is sick. Lass him nicht gehen. Don't allow him to go away. Hat sich geschrien mit a skrippendik Keul die eigene Idene, was hat ihm erst nur vorgehalten, für was vernimmt die Ort. So this the same woman who had just a moment before reproved him for taking up space in the hektish, she yelled out in a squeaky voice. Sorry. Wo geht ihr, Rabbi Yankov? Where are you going, Rabbi Yaakov? Haben sich gehört Keules von alle Seiten. Their voices said from all, they asked from all sides. In Bishmedres Arain, I'm going to the study house. Wer is mir? Wackelt sich auf die Fies. Woe is me? He's wobbling on his feet. Hat sich der Herd a weibersche Quitsch, a feminine cry, squeaky cry was heard. Gib's him a schluck Wasser. Give him a sip or a gulp of water. Yashakoyach, medaf nicht. It's okay. One needn't. Hot nicht faribel. Don't take offense. And this is what Yaakov said. Erod getona kush di mezuzah. He kissed the mezuzah. Sich gelost gehen zum Bishmedres, and he began to leave for the study house. Hat gemacht kleine Trittlich, sich gestellt opruhen. He walked with very small steps and stopped to rest. Das Bishmedres is gestanden do bald gegenüber. The study house was stood nearby, opposite nearby. So hat sich schön von dort getrogen nach Kohl von Davenen und von Bochrim was lernen Gemorra. And from there, there came the sound of prayer and of young men studying Gemorra. Beim Davenen is Yaakov geworden verschlaft. During the prayers, Yaakov fell ill. Is geton afal anider in Talis and Tefillin, and he fell down in his Talis and Tefillin. In Bishmedres is geworden a rash. a noise broke out in the study house. Man hat ihm aufgehoben und Balabos, was hat nicht gehabt, kein Kinder, hat ihm abgeführt zu sich heim. They lifted him, and a householder who didn't have any children took him to his house. Hat abgegeben dem Schlafen besonder Cheder. He gave the ill man a separate room. Hat sein Weib, und sein Weib haben dem Schlafen bedient. He and his wife served or looked after the ill man. Man hat gebracht Chonina dem Räufer und hat getan alle Refuas und Skules. They brought Chanina, the doctor, and he did administered all sorts of medicines and remedies. Geschlagen oder, bloodletting, gestellt piafkes, and he placed leeches, gegeben dem Kranken allerlei Kräuter, aber es hat nicht geholfen. And they gave him all sorts of herbs, but nothing helped. Der Jakob is eingegangen von Schor zu Schor. Jakob deteriorated from 1 hour to the next. Das Kohlseins ist geworden so still, als man hat kaum verstanden, was sagt. His voice became so quiet that it was difficult to understand what he was saying. Hat zu morgens in der Früh sich geheißen, geben dem Talis und Tfilin. The next morning early, he asked to be given his Talis und Tfilin. Aber hat nicht gehabt, kein Koyach ihm anzutun, but he didn't have the strength to put them on und zu wickeln die Ritzuas and to wind the straps around dem Orum, to wind the straps around his arm. Die Pilitzer Leid seinen alle gekommen, immer wacker Heule sein. All the people of Pilitz came to visit him, to visit the sick. Der Rov ist gekommen zu Jakob, gewor wären, und Jakob hat ihm gebeten, soll sagen mit ihm Vidui. The rabbi came to Yaakov to gevorveren, to be with him, and Yaakov asked him to say the confession prayer with him. Jakob hat gesagt, Chet wie Yom Kippur, und viele geprüft sich klappen in Herz. Jakob said the Al-Chet prayer of Yom Kippur, like as on Yom Kippur, and even tried to beat his heart. Aber hat nicht gehabt, dem Koyach zu neu zu ballen. a foist, but he didn't have the strength to clench his fist und sie zuzutragen zu der Brust, and to lift his fist to his chest. Azoi wie is alle Jahren Zeit hat sich gedenkt, gewinn stark, azoi is jetzt geworden schwach. In the same way that all the years he was very strong, and he was strong, and he could think now and think strongly. Now he was in the opposite way. He was now so weak. Hat viele nicht gehabt, die Kraft, sich überzudrehen auf der andere Seite. He didn't even have the strength to turn over in the bed on the other side. A viele öffnen das Mäuel und herabschlingen a Löffel warm Wasser is gewinn für ihm zu viel Mühe. Even to open up his mouth and to swallow a spoon of water was too much effort for him. Hat naiert gewollt drimmelen. He only wanted to doze. Hat gelegen mit geschlossener Wies. He lay with closed eyelids. Reingetan in a Vertuenisch, was a gesunder kann das keinmal nicht wahrnehmen. And he was lying absorbed in a Vertuenisch I couldn't find this word Vertuenisch. Does anybody know what it is?
I found it's an activity. It's derived from ton, epis ton. Vartunis is an activity. It's in the, what do you call it, Beinfeld dictionary.
Uh-huh. Just as a matter of methodology, maybe this we can ask later. After you go to Beinfeld, what do? You go to like the Dutch Yiddish dictionary, or where do you go when you can't find a word in Beinfeld?
I ask Raphael.
Okay, so I think it's difficult to understand. He was so absorbed, I think self-absorbed, perhaps is the way to understand it. That someone who was well couldn't even conceive of such a situation.
Right.
Hat nicht getracht, nor etwas in ihm hat getracht. He wasn't thinking, but something within him was thinking. Und Jakob, hat recht nicht gewusst was. And he himself, Jakob, didn't know what it was that he was thinking. Hat gelernt, Lernung nicht von der Welt. He was studying an instruction which was not of this world. Seinen gekommen zu ihm Gestalten, was seinen Schein nicht gewinn kein Hieger. Figures came to him who were not local ones. Oder was hat sie nicht gekonnt. Or figures that he didn't know. Sie seien alle gewesen mit ihm. All of these people were with him. Der Tata alle Sholem, die Mama alle Hasholem, die Schwester Zelde Leia, die Kinder Sora, a viele Jan Bjik ist gekommen zu ihm. Jakoven. Und ist mehr nicht gewesen kein Goy, nur a Tzadik von Gan Eden. So these figures came to him, his father of blessed memory, his mother of blessed memory, his sisters, Zelda Leah, who was his first wife, his children, Sora, and even Jan Bjik came to him, to Yaakov. And he was no longer a Gentile, but he was a tzaddik, a righteous man from heaven, from Gan Eden. Hat geführt mit Jakob in Avikuach. Und die Zdodim zwischen sich haben sich euch wegen etwas geampert. They were carrying on an argument with Yaakov, and the opposing sides were debating with him, aber ohne Sinne, nor mit Liebschaft, but without hatred, rather with love. Jeder Tzad is given auf sein Steiger gerecht. On each side of the argument was correct in its way. Und wiewohl Jakob hat recht nicht gewusst, über was man spart sich, und was das als beteiligt, hat von Mal zu Mal sich gechidischt. Each side was in its own way correct, and even though Yaakov didn't really know what they were arguing about and what it all meant, from time to time he was amazed at it. Wenn man wollt, das als gewusst Gesundheit, if only he would have known all of this as a healthy person, hat zu sich gesagt. He said to himself, man wird anders gedient dem Ebersten. One would have served the Almighty in a different way. Man wird gehad betochen. One would have had faith or trust. Man wird keinmal nicht gewinn treurig. One would never have been sad. Aber wie soll kann man das übergeben, die Gesundheit? But how is it possible to communicate this to those who are well? Nein, man kann nicht. It's impossible. Es ist schon zwischen ihm, Jakob, und jener, was seinen gekommen ihm Mavaka Cholim sein. It was between him, Yaakov, and those who had come to visit him as a sick man. Gestanden, between them is gestanden a machitza, nicht durchzusparen. There was a division between him and these people who had come to visit him that couldn't be bridged. Sie haben geredet zu ihm die gewöhnliche Rede. They spoke to him in ordinary speech. Im gewünschen Arafua. They wished him well. Und hat gemurmelt Yeshakoyach. And he mumbled his appreciation. Mir hat ihm gegeben allerlei Etzes. They gave him all sorts of advice. Aber wie wohl die Euren seiner haben gehört, seine Rede, hat nicht gewusst, was sie reden. Und es ist ihm nicht umgegangen. So they gave him all sorts of advice, but although his ears heard what they were saying, he didn't know what they were saying,
Is
and
he
it didn't
talking
seem
here?
to matter.
I don't understand. It's so philosophical. Is he talking here about those people who came from the town to visit him? Or is he
No.
talking? He's talking about these figures who have come to him, John Zib.
Right.
Okay, all right.
His first wife, his children, his Sarah,
right,
his Jan Bzik, and all of these
right.
people,
Who have
and his
come to visit
parents.
now. Mhm.
Yeah. And he didn't know, they were talking to him and he heard them speak, but he didn't, what they were saying didn't matter to him.
Right.
Wie der Erwachsene, was hört zu die Plappernischen von Kinder. Like it was like an adult who was listening to the babble of children.
Mhm.
Hat mehr nicht gewollt und nicht gedacht, kein Refuhr. He no longer needed or wanted any refuah, any
Medical help.
help. Yeah, right. Yeah. Hat ungewöhren die Getreischaft zum eigenen Guf. He had, as it were, let go the loyalty to his own body. Teilmal hat Jakob gespürt, beschämperlich, als ist schon äußeren Guf. Sometimes Jakob evidently sensed that he was actually outside of his body. His soul was outside of his body. Der Guf ist gelegen im Bett, eingebabbelt in Bettgewand, krank, gel, zerkneudert. Aber Jakob, hat sich gefunden über ihm und geguckt auf ihn, wie man guckt einmal auf ein alt und zerrissen Malbusch, was man hat erst noch von sich herabgeworfen. So the body was lying in the bed, covered in bedclothes, sick, yellow, crumpled. But he, Yaakov, was to be found above the bed, and he looked at him as one sometimes looks at an old, torn piece of clothing, which one had just recently thrown away. Great zu begehen an anderen Levush, and ready to banayan an anderen Levush, ready to put on some new clothing. hast schon abgedient deine Zeit. You have already served your time, hat Jakob geredet zu dem kranken Körper. Jakob spoke to the ill body. Bist zerrissen und verfleckt mit Aveirus euch. You are torn and you are stained with sins as well. Man wird dich müssen gut reinigen und leitern. They will have to clean you and purify you very well. Einmal in ein Abend hat der dosige Jakob, der andere, der Gesunder, sich abgerissen von dem Heule Mesuken. Und hat genommen schweben ergens über Felder, Berg, Jammen. Once of an evening, this same Yaakov, the other one, the healthy one, had torn himself away from this seriously ill person, and he had begun to hover somewhere above fields, mountains, and seas. Hat sich bald gefunden in Jerusalem. He soon found himself in Jerusalem, in der Stub von Benjamin Eliezer, in his son Benjamin Eliezer's house. Ist gesessen und gelernt bei der Schein von einem Öllämpele. And Benjamin Eliezer was sitting and studying by the light of an oil lamp. Jakob hat geredet zu ihm, aber hat upon him nicht gehört. Jacob spoke to him, to Benjamin Eliezer, but he apparently didn't hear what he had to say. Hat ihm geprüft, geben ein Zeichen. He tried to give him a sign, aber Benjamin Eliezer hat sich im Ganzen reingetan in dem Sefer. But Benjamin Eliezer was completely absorbed in the religious book. Bald hat etwas a koech a risketon Jakoben zurück. Und ist zurückgewandt in der Stub von dem Pilitzer Balabos. Soon something pulled Yaakov back, and once again he was in the house of the Pilitz householder. Ze chob gehat kfitzas haderech. See, I've had the kvitzas haderech. It's the supernatural ability to move to a distant place. It's this Kabbalistic idea of when Mashiach comes, all the dead will have kvitzas haderech. They'll be able to move to Eretz Yisrael. Und ist wieder geworden eng behaften mit dem schlaffen Guf. And he was once again restricted and joined to his ill body und seine Yisurim and his suffering.